Hello there fellow humans and welcome to this video, and today I'll be looking at the Kranvagn again. But I'm not only going to look at the Kranvagn itself, but I'm going to also compare it to the MX-50B and the T-57 Heavy, and a little bit also to the Pajero 65, because that tank also has an auto reloader like the Kranvagn. Fuck off, Patton. Anyway, let's first check out Blitzstars and compare these tanks. Here we're at Blitzstars. We can see the Kranvagn 57 MX-50B and the Pajero. And the first thing that we can already see... What the hell, man? This is not accurate anymore. It is, the DPM is 100 more. Actually, the DPM is 90 more than what it says here. But otherwise, it's very accurate. But even if we, for example, remove the ventilations here from these tanks to make it accurate... The T-57 Heavy has a 57% better DPM. So, yeah. That said, penetration, same. Alpha, same. All have 3 shells. The Pajero has 350. And if we look at the accuracy and the dispersion, the aim time is the worst. The dispersion is sort of in the middle between all of them. The speed is... not that good. It's obviously a lot worse than the 57 and the 50B, and way worse than the Pajero, but the Pajero's only in this comparison because of the gun. But then where this tank does excel is at the armor. That is what this tank is good at. That's the Kranvagn's strong thing. Also, it's being played a lot better than all the other tanks, but that's pretty much because only the Unicums have it at the moment, and there's only 72 people. But anyway, that is the Kranvagn. If you look at the statistics, it doesn't look good in the statistics, but we also saw that in the last video. So now let's get back into the game, and let's start off first by playing the Kranvagn. Let's see the queue times. Never play on patch day. So, now we're in the battle, and I got myself the Nord camouflage, which is basically just the Swedish flag all over the tank. There's also the other one, the Nidhugg, or whatever how it's called. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it too. They're hella expensive though, and they're just camos. But anyway, I got this one because yes. Now, I was here on this map before in the last video. If you haven't seen the last Kranvagn video, check it out. Also, if you haven't checked out my streams yet, check that out as well. And if you haven't checked out the memberships, check those out as well, because they're quite cheap. Anyway, as you can see, the E100 just shot HE there into my turret. That is pretty much the only way you can do damage to this vehicle's turret. The turret, 360mm at the front, impenetrable by pretty much anyone except premium rounds of T-10 tank destroyers. If you're on a flat surface. If you use the gun depression, it is absolutely impenetrable. It has 9 degrees of gun depression, which is sort of the same as the 50B. So, well, the thing is, this tank and this tank line, together with the ML1 and the ML2, have been inspired heavily by the French. So that's what they should mainly be compared to, and that's the 50B. The 57 does, however, fit a little bit better with the profile. The Kranvagn has around about the same speed as the T-57 Heavy. It's actually a little bit slower, which is weird. And as we already seen in the comparison earlier, it has 1000 DPM less than the T-57 Heavy, which is just, yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. In Ralph Tanks PC, this vehicle has a 3-shot autoloader with 440 alpha damage and 3000 DPM, and it's not OP there either. So this tank does have a lot more potential than the game is currently giving it, but it is fine. It is fine. It's not underpowered by any means. In Blitz, the gameplay is quite fast in this tank. If you want to do well, you have to slow down the progress of pretty much the entire game. That's what you have to do to make this thing work, because you only have 2000 DPM. And with the 57 Heavy, you reload in 20 seconds, you can do 1200 damage in 5 seconds. With this tank, you can't do that. You need about 40 seconds to do 1200 damage in 7 seconds. So this tank is just a lot more slower and a lot more slower paced. It's more like a a big, slow, heavy tank, even though it only weighs 44 tons. Like, it is a lot lighter, and it's also a lot smaller than, for example, the 50B. Like, it's only have like thirds of the height of the MX-50B. So it's a quite compact and small tank. But that doesn't mean that it has to be fast, because it absolutely isn't. Okay, we set the 183 on fire, and now we get the ML1. The ML has a... first the autoloader, and then second a auto-reloader, which is pretty much the same gun. Like, the ML is the same tank as the Kronvang, just one tier lower. That's the only difference, basically. Let's get the shot, and that is it. There we go, a win for the Kronvang, 2,600. Not that good, to be honest. That is not that good. Could have done a lot more. But anyway, that's the Kronvang. Oh, 2,900 actually. That's still not good. But anyway, that is the Kronvang. And as I already hinted at, let's look at the size compared to the 50B. Yeah, that is quite substantial right there. Yeah, now let's get into the MX-50B. And here we are with the MX-50B, and what is the key difference between the MX-50B and the Kronvang? Well, there are three. First of all is the size. This one is a very thick boy. And second of all, it is the mobility. This moves more like a medium tank, and it also has very medium tank armor. So it's basically a fat medium tank with a heavy tank gun, with medium tank DPM. Go figure, it's French. So the thing is, the Kronvang, the Swedish actually copied the French design. They copied the French MX-50 design onto the Kronvang, but the Kronvang was never actually made because the company that was tasked to make the Kronvang turret was too dumb to actually make the turret. So that didn't work out too well. Anyway, the MX-50B, I don't think it ever existed either, but anyway, that exists in Blitz. And it is an auto-loader instead of an auto-reloader like the Kronvang. Now, obviously, this tank in Blitz, 3 shots, 1,200 damage, just like the Kronvang. But every shell in the Kronvang reloads on its own. But this tank only takes 20 seconds to reload the entire magazine, resulting in about 3,000 DPM at tier 10. And, what the hell? Yeah, that 140 doesn't really know how to play. Anyway, this vehicle has a lot less armor, but if you look at it from the front, you can see the turret is quite troll, and the lower plate, lower plate and upper plate, also quite troll too, because they're quite thick and well angled, and you can get your eventual bounces off the mantlet. But you shouldn't ever rely on this tank, especially because the sides are very, very thin. They're thin like baguettes, and everyone can just HE them without a problem. The accuracy is very good, just like on the Kronvang. It is slightly better than the Kronvang, actually. So yeah, so this is basically like the big brother of the Kronvang. Well, the Kronvang is just the baby child that has just come in. He doesn't have a lot of DPM yet. He's not very smart yet. He's not very fast because he can't run yet. And this guy's already running a marathon and having a brain, basically. But he still doesn't know how to use his penis. Anyway, let's get the Sheridan. Now, Sheridan. I don't want to lose my gunner now. Thing is, with the auto-loader feature, you have one problem. If you shoot 2 shells, you have 1 left, you have to reload the entire clip for nothing, basically. But the thing is, even though the auto-reloaders have that advantage that you can reload individual shells of their clip, this tank's DPM is just so much better than the Kronvang's that it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You can shoot 2 shells every single time and you're still gonna have better DPM than the Kronvang. Without a problem. You can even miss the other one and you still have better DPM. Well, you shouldn't do that, but anyway. It doesn't have a driver, and let's try and aim. It is better to aim for 2 seconds than having to reload for 20 seconds. Remember that. Always aim your shots if you have time to. If there's no time, if they're running past you, just snapshot it. Like, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Okay, let's try and take out the KPZ here. What this thing has is this insane mobility that you can just skip around the map with. And you don't really have to be afraid of anyone. You can keep up with mediums on this thing. And also you can ram the shit out of mediums because this tank's amazing at ramming. It is! So, is this tank better than the Kronvang? Certainly, yes. It is. But the Kronvang is very, very situational. It has a very defined role, you know? You sit in a spot, in a hold down spot, and you just farm the enemies that are sitting in front of you. If the enemy ever has more than 2 people that are aiming at you, then you are absolutely fucked. But so are you in the MX-50B, because you have a 3-shot clip, and after that you're helpless for 20 seconds. So the playstyles are sort of similar in a way, because with both you have to really watch out where you're going and what you're doing. Because if you were alone, if you're without a team, if you're the 1 versus X, you have a very, very hard time doing anything in these 2 vehicles. That's okay damage right there. Well done, Buttergrill. And now we get to the middle child. That is the T-57 Heavy. So now here with the T-57 Heavy, and I'm using the replay because I fucked up the audio on the live version, so because I'm an idiot. Anyway, the T-57 Heavy, it is the perfect middle child between the MX-50B and the Kranvagn. It has roughly the same DPM and damage as the MX-50B, and roughly the same armor profile. It's slightly better than the 50Bs, and it kind of has Kranvagn mobility. So this is kind of the middle child that it's getting forgotten all the time. Is it a bad tank? It is certainly not. It has very good DPM. It is not that fast, so it's more of a close range tank than the MX-50B. So you should definitely watch out for that, because it's not as mobile as the 50B, but it is not as well armored as the Kranvagn. So basically this is just the middle tank between both of them. But as you can see right here, I just go onto the Kennedy one and pretty much clip away his entire health, doing 1,200 damage. And that is the amount of clip damage that this thing can do. That is just 1,200, and well, thanks PC, it has 1 extra shell at 1,600. But if that would be the case in Blitz, it would be very much overpowered. But to be honest, I think it would need something like that to make it a very, very viable tank again. Because, there are certainly better tanks out there. Like, for example, the Chieftain or the T-110E5, if we want to compare it to another American tank. But that doesn't mean it's a bad tank. It's a very good tank if you know how to play it. Auto-loaders are always hard to play. Let alone auto-reloaders. So, if you know how to play with a tank like this, if you have experience, you'll do quite well. The line of the T-57 Heavy is also quite nice. You have the T-69, you have the T-54, that slowly lead you up from the medium tanks to the heavy tank that the 57 Heavy is. But it's the same with the Swedish, basically, where the ML1 and the ML2 are very similar to the Kranvagn, and the MX-5100 and MX-5120 are also very, very similar to the AMX-50B. So all 3 lines from Tier 8 onward already lead you sort of into the autoloader playstyle. So once you get to Tier 10, you will hopefully already know how to play the vehicle. So you can see it right here. The E50M, I track him with the first shot, put 2 more in, 1,200 into the guy, and he's pretty much dead. And that's already 4,000 damage in the T-57 Heavy, and I didn't really do that much. So, if you know where to play this tank, if you know how to position it, that's something that you can pretty much only get from experience. No guide can tell you, yeah, you have to put it here, you have to put it here. It doesn't work like that. You have to find out what kind of team you have, what kind of team they have, and then you have to position yourself accordingly. And that's something that you can only get with learning from your mistakes and accumulating the experience in the game. And with that experience and with that knowledge, you can get games like this. 5,159 damage in the T-57 Heavy. And that's it pretty much. Which one out of the 3 is the best? Probably the MX-50B. And 57 and Kranvagn are kind of similar. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. That's the end of the video. Don't forget to like and all that kind of stuff. Goodbye.